Hello, everybody. It is Sam here, and just wanting to drop into your January newsletter to share why I think every student should have a whiteboard. Many students and parents this time of year are phoning our office and wanting to enroll in a few study skills sessions. And the number one ask is, what can my student do? What can my child do? And to answer that question, I'm going to share a really simple tool today called visual note taking, which then led me to thinking about a whole bunch of ways we can support our students with executive skills. And the whiteboard in the family at home is really an essential material to have and resource for your student and for you. And I'm going to take you through a few ideas that I have today. And if you do have any questions, for sure, give us a call at the office and we'd be happy to get back to you. This came out of the need for students often studying the wrong way. And you've heard this from me time and time again. So the big question is, and we ask our students this, what is the most common study method used by students from grade 6 to university? And this is actually rooted in current research. We're not making this up. Guess what it is? And I'm sure as parents, you know, because you probably witness this at home all the time. It's rereading notes and handouts. So many of our students will passively read notes and handouts at home. You know, they're kind of opening their binders, scanning through, and passively studying is what we call it. However, second skill testing question, which study method is proven to be the least effective for students of any age? Any kind of, and it doesn't even have to be a typical study method, but just even from memory. Of course, I'm sure you've guessed it. It's, guess what? Rereading notes and handouts. So, as we often tell our students, we say, why are we doing that? Why are we doing something over and over again and expecting a different result? And I think Einstein was the one who said that, but that is up for debate. So, for now, I'm referencing Einstein. 84% probability that your teen is studying the wrong way. Passively reading over notes, it's boring, it's frustrating, and it really is a big waste of your time, is what we tell students, so don't do it. But our brains get tricked into doing it because the material is there. And in this day and age, with amazing technology and amazing access to information, our students have loads and loads of resources at their disposal. And teachers, because they have access to this information and are passionate about their subject areas, share this with your child. They create study guides for them. We provide websites for them to research on and study from. We do postings on Google Classroom and Moodle and information. So, of course, the student is thinking, or the brain of the student is thinking, okay, that's easy. I've got all the information. I don't have to seek it out. I'm just going to read over it. And our brains, their brains, our brains are tricked into knowing more than they do. A simple example that I often use in workshops is have students or teachers recreate the map of Canada. Just sketch it out on a piece of paper. How much do you remember? All the details, make sure all the boundaries are intact, and capital cities and Great Lakes and oceans, of course. And what we often find is that students and adults, teachers, myself including, it's very difficult to recall the details. However, we have seen a map of Canada forever, and many of us have taught the map of Canada forever. However, do we deeply understand it? And the answer is no. Why is that? Because we recognize it, we know it, we can recall a little bit of it, but we don't have the deep level understanding. Talk to students about having zombie brain, okay, and your brain being a passive follower when you're reading over your notes. We often in sessions use what we call the tower of learning here, where we show students as you climb up the tower, We're trying to get you from passive learning to active learning. And believe it or not, active learning is way more engaging, takes way less time, which students love to hear. And you actually can recall a really quite extensive piece of information with depth of understanding using active study techniques. Those bottom floors, those are just surface level understanding that this is where our zombie brains hang out. So how do we do that? How you're like, great, Sam. So what do we do? I'm going to click off of here. Um, Help your student fight the urge to be a zombie brain. How do you do that? Visual note taking. We can teach your student that. And we're not suggesting all parents teach their kids visual note taking. However, we can show you some examples and give you some ideas of a tool or resource you can purchase for them pretty inexpensively if you're resourceful. To post or hang in their study area. And that is a dry erase whiteboard. So most teens won't admit this, but I've seen it over and over again. Teens creating visual notes on a whiteboard in their room or at school. And it's pretty amazing to see smiles, and they won't admit it, but there's even some fun involved, especially when you get some of the cool colors and they have a friend over and they start to create these things. So you can really hit, or they can hit floor 5 and above on the Tower of Learning that I just showed you with just this one tool. All right, so why does it work? There's research, tons of neuroscience behind this. But the long and short of it is we want the left side and the right side to talk to each other. So we know from the research that when we pair the logical, the rational, the linear pieces of information with an artistic picture, a representation, emotion, colors on the right side of the brain, then something magical happens. So what we're really trying to do is get the two sides of the brain to connect and communicate, which boosts memory, which boosts association, which really increases creativity and alertness. This is a magical strategy for students that struggle with working memory, that struggle with verbal memory, and that possibly struggle also with attention and focus. So here's just a quick example of a visual note about visual note taking. So now that you know the why behind this, what you really want to know is how are you going to implement this home? Because many students say, I can't draw. Well, the reality is, or I don't want to. The reality is they don't have to draw. And most students, once you get them going on this, post it in their bedroom. I know I say often to not study in your bedroom. Perhaps this could be one case, or post it in the basement in their study area, or if you have an office area. This student was studying for a biology test. This student has definitely has a learning difference, also struggles a little bit with focus and attention. He created this all on his own. Now, this whiteboard, to be honest, is like a classroom-sized whiteboard. It's pretty darn huge. You don't have to get that, but I don't recommend a tiny one. I recommend like a middle of the road, maybe half of this size to get them going. It's not pretty. It doesn't look great on the wall, but really, who cares? Because your child is studying, engaging their brain, and guess what? It works. So they learn to classify, use words, symbols to represent the key ideas of their learning. And guess what? Spelling just doesn't matter in this particular case. Here's another example of what the student created of the heart. Okay, and this can actually stay up in their room or study area, and guess what? The brain just keeps revisiting it, looking at it, recognizes it. Okay, and then starts to recreate it. Many students can love doing this. They can snap a picture of it with their phone, save it for later, share it with their group chat friends to help them study. But really, we all know the power is in the creation of these things. Okay, so here's another one, Bio 20 again. Okay, this means something to him. To me, I mean, if you're a bio teacher or a bio prof, you probably understand what's going on here. But really, the most important thing is, and it makes sense to this student, I do want to point out these handy dandy little magnets. These are incredible. If you can get a magnetic whiteboard with these type of magnets that you can actually write on these. And so for working memory challenges, whoops, for working memory challenges, these magnetic wipe on, wipe off magnets are really a dream because the student hasn't written on them yet. But if there's a to-do list for the day or something where they're trying to visualize where, getting ready, and they have a picture of what they're getting ready looks like, and then they have the steps next to it with these magnets, fantastic, because when they have done that activity, what they can move it over from a chart from due to done. So they can simply draw a chart on the whiteboard. One side is due with these magnets and a list of items that need to be done. And then they move the magnet over, physically move it over when the task is complete. This student also looks like his driver's ed and who's doing what, where, what day of the week it's on, what times. He initiates this. The student starts to take control and ownership of these pieces. What to buy? Well, magnetic whiteboard. Yeah, they're expensive if you buy them new, not gonna lie. But there are oodles of them on Kijiji, various sites, so I highly recommend you look there first. Ask any teacher friends or any schools you know that are getting rid of things. You can get them really cheap. Students love using the Expo pens. Just get a whole ton of colors and have them choose them. And you do start to see, I don't know what it is about buying new markers, seems to instill a little bit more excitement. And of course, the right on wipe off magnets, they are challenging to find. Did find them at Staples. They weren't cheap, but really worth it. But if you do find them anywhere else, please let me know and I'll put them on my list, but really worth it. So one more tool to add to your parenting toolkit: support your child in their study routine. No zombie brains. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. Let me know if you have any questions.